You know you could just emulate that stuff, right?
Yeah, I know.
Why are you spending so much money on this, man? What is Neo Geo anyway?
Neo Geo was a home video game console that came out in 1990.
Yeah, I played those games in the arcade, but why do they cost so much money, man? Why do you need that?
It's not for everyone, my guy. Some games are pricey. What can I say? There are games out there that are really, really hard to find. I like to consider it like some other collectors do. More of a fine art piece that you're really collecting for amongst many great artists of the time. Of course, there were tons of great Nintendo games, Sega Genesis games around that time frame. Neo Geo just happens to be in that bunch. However, due to its high price structure back in the day, a lot of people didn't jump on board. They went with Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis.
Why don't you educate me, man? Why won't you tell me why is it important for me to do this?
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the channel. It's your host, Neo Ness. Today we're talking about it. Should you be collecting Neo Geo games today in 2023? Here's some do's and don'ts. Look, I'm not a complete expert on this. I've spent the last 2.5 years collecting Neo Geo games, along with this wonderful console that you see right in front of you. I bought this boxed console on eBay for about $950 and it was refurbished, recapped, came with a brand new stick that was remodified with a new ball, buttons, and the serial numbers matched, as you can see right here. Was it pricey? Yes. Was it more than your average PS5, Xbox Series X? Yes, it was. And was it priced roughly the same back in 1990? Yeah. And I happen to have two consoles that play Neo Geo games. To the left, the MVS Consolized console from GamesCare, and this lovely Neo Geo AES that I have out of the box. I play both MVS games and AES games. The MVS games that you'll see here that play on this console are going to be a lot cheaper to afford. You're averaging somewhere between 30, 80, $100, and for the heavier titles, probably somewhere in the 200 to 300 range if you're getting a full console or full MVS kit. For the AES, as you can see here, it's a light console, pretty standard. It's a powerhouse. This one isn't heavily modded. It's got the AV connections, the power port. All it has is a UniBIOS. Actually, both of these do. So these both play multi-region parts from Japan, Europe, and of course here in the US. Gotta love this console. But let's move that out of the way. Let's focus mainly on the AES. Why did I decide to do this when I could have purchased an NES from Nintendo, a Sega Genesis, all those stuff? I could have gone back and recollected all that stuff from when I was a kid. Well, the Neo Geo was one of those consoles that I didn't have an opportunity to get, and I decided that I wanted to collect for this. Now, if I could go back and tell myself 2 years ago, hey man, this stuff is expensive, I probably wouldn't have jumped into this collecting. But I'm a guy that likes to go in and doesn't like to quit until something's finished. So here we are. I'm collecting for this console. A couple of things that this thing's come with. Well, outside of the box, it comes with a wonderful little joystick that I must say, for the time, was amazing. Now, this isn't the same one that came inside of that console box. This was another one that I bought at Retropalooza last year. This one ran me about $150 just because it still had the styrofoam and the plastic. Even though it was a little beat up, I really didn't care. I wanted it for the collection. For some of you out there, you may say, hey, that's a little too pricey. I completely understand, but this is more of the nostalgia for me to have in the collection. As you can see, the ball there has a little bit of crack, but the buttons all work just fine. They're still clicky and working as intended. And I use this controller every single time outside of a couple other games, or just if I'm lazy and I don't want to unbox it, but I use this generally when I'm playing my games. So it's in pretty decent shape, a couple of scratches here or there. So when you're out and about and you're thinking about purchasing, look at one of these. If it didn't already come with 2 controllers for your console, pick up another one for 2 people. For this one, this is a Neo Geo CD controller. The CD console I don't have, but I do have this controller just because they're cross-compatible. You can use this on the old AES, and even on my Consolized MVS, the pins that are in this controller still work just the same. It's super light, it's comfortable in the hand, and the micro switches are super awesome. You can hear all those wonderful clicks inside this controller. Definitely recommend if you're more of a handheld controller person and you're not really up for the joysticks. So this is definitely an option if you want to grab a couple of these for you and a buddy to play. And this one cost me about 80 bucks. Baseball Stars 2. This is in a soft box, in a soft case. This was the standard case in the earlier titles for Neo Geo AES. This is one of the top sports games for baseball, that is. This was a great game. I loved it. And as you can see, the soft case comes in a little soft plastic and a baggie in the manual. Generally, when you open up a complete in box Neo Geo AES game, it's going to come with a manual with a baggie. Generally, depending on the condition, the pages are going to look good. They're going to have kind of a retro feel to it, pop right off the page. And as you can see, the little emblem with the bulldog, that's what we call a dog tag. 21 titles were issued for the US. The cartridge, pretty nice. The labels generally are really glossy on these, so if you start collecting any kind of Neo Geo game, you definitely want to take a look at the sticker, especially if you're looking online and you're not quite sure. Make sure they have some high-res pictures for you, so that way you can go in, take a look, and see if it has a sheen or gloss on it. Also check the contacts and make sure it's not overly dirty, and always clean your games before you insert them into the console. Keeps everything working properly. Now, if you ever need to open it, which I don't recommend, but there are videos on YouTube, but these little contact points here, you can use a soft plastic of some sort. I don't use any metals or anything like that. Pull those tabs open and open the boards if you have any issues. Never on the top, and don't open it all the way, because you'll definitely crease the sticker, and that's going to devalue that sticker on the game, and you definitely don't want that if you plan on reselling these if you ever need to let go of the collection. An updated version of the case for the AES are the snap cases. These are what the last bit of generation games came out with, and these, in my opinion, are much better. The structure of them, the integrity of the soft case is so much better, and a little bit of an upgrade to the manuals. They did square them off and made them a little bit smaller in the newer games, and they gave them a little ultra sheen and gloss. So as you can see, compared to Baseball Stars 2, they've got a little bit more shimmer and a matte finish to it. Pretty nice. Also, a couple of things to look out for when you're looking at more high-priced games. You want to always look out for where the staples are punched in these manuals. They're generally in the same location for a lot of titles, and there's a few that so often they're punched in little areas. But as you continue to collect these things, you will begin to understand about the gloss of the sticker, the cart, the condition, the manual, the insert. All these things you definitely want to take into account. And I'll also pop up in the corner here how much this is going for currently on eBay right now, which seems to be the standard pricing online. And inside the SNK emblem, I don't have a little package there. Now, if you're not interested, and as a side note, if you're not interested in collecting AES, but you want a hard or physical copy of the game, and it's only a select few, you can try ports that were done by Takara, like with the Samurai Showdown on Sega Genesis, and or Fatal Fury Special, also ported by Takara. You'll see a lot of those titles done back for Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, Sega CD, etc. And these ports weren't 100% exact to the Neo Geo version. They did downgrade some of the graphics in these games just because the consoles weren't able to handle them, but it's a great alternative if you're not into emulating games and you want a hard copy of the game. So I thought I'd throw this in here. I won't put the prices up for this. Pretty standard pricing you can find online, but as you can see here, look how small that is compared to Baseball Stars. These carts were insanely huge, and that's because it's got 2 boards, a lot of chips in there, and these chips pack a lot of power. The exact same power that you found in the arcade, which is why these games back in the day were $200 or $250 a piece, with a standard console costing you somewhere in the realm of $650 to $700. That's insane. And if you want to measure the cart next to an MVS, standard sizing looked the same. The boards are going to be the same. The chips are going to be the same. The only difference that you'll find between an MVS and an AES, besides the shell difference, is the contact points. The contact points on the board do not fit in an AES and vice versa. So you can get a converter out there, which I don't have, and I don't have anything to showcase, but that's an option too. Another port that you could also do for some of the more modern stuff, Dreamcast had some great ports. Also, you can go with PlayStation, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. There's some other stuff out there too. If you are thinking about collecting for MVS, this is a breaker's box. This is what they call the MVS Kit. Inside, it would come with a cartridge, which is currently in a soft case off screen, but it would also have some marquee stickers and some brief instructions that you would paste on top or on the side of an arcade cabinet. So for players that wanted to play this particular game, they could select it and they could have it. Inside, you'll also find some paperwork, which generally arcade operators would have, and then they would use those codes or instructions to properly set up the game. So we'll put that back in here, and whatever else is left inside, some bubble wrap just to keep the game and paperwork secure. Not bad. But if you want to measure it, it's a cardboard box with a label, and that's all. It's not aesthetically pleasing, is it? Well, let's compare it to Mark of the Wolves here. The AES case game, it's just more aesthetically pleasing. And as a collector, I'm not downing anybody. There's plenty of great collectors out there that collect full kits for MVS, which is great. I have MVS, and I generally collect MVS for games that I know I'm not going to be able to afford on Neo Geo AES. Mark of the Wolves is pricey. I don't have market pricing. I'm not going to put it up on the screen or anything like that. Take a look at your average sold cost for a Japanese version on eBay, and then you'll think about it. These games go in the upper thousands. The entry level stuff is generally a couple $100. If you get the Japanese versions, it may be a little bit different. And as you can see, as I pointed in the sticker there are some subtle differences between carts. Some of these have the caution labels, others don't. Others have larger manuals, some others don't. Just another way to think about it. Let's play a game.
As a recap, we've gone through a few of the small titles that I have for Neo Geo AES and MVS, as well as going over the consoles, the controllers, and some little bit of gameplay. I'm a little rusty on my Mark of the Wolf, so I'll get better as I keep playing the game. However, let's go over a couple of things. When you decide to buy, I did put posts of eBay solds previously. That is not the only way to purchase Neo Geo AES games. I definitely recommend going on Facebook and joining some Neo Geo groups. You'll find some great prices for some of these games, which will definitely help you in your early stages of collecting. Now, Facebook isn't the only thing. You can do Craigslist, OfferUp. If you're in other places in the world and you have different selling applications where you can buy and sell and talk to different sellers and buyers for Neo Geo, definitely utilize those too, as well as private groups. And if you've been in the community or you know other people that have been in the community for a while and you're wanting to join and learn more about Neo Geo, definitely recommend reaching out to those individuals, talking to them and pulling their ear a little bit and learning more about the history and why they collect. I do it for the nostalgia. It was something I always wanted as a kid. Now, did I expect that I was going to be doing this long after the last 2 or 3 years? No, but I'm still doing it because I really enjoy it. It's just something about having a Neo Geo, playing the actual game, not an emulation, not a port, but the actual hardware that brings joy to me. I love that. I would hope that if you collect anything, that it would bring joy to you as well. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, and I'll do some follow-up videos to go more and do a little bit more of a comprehensive. I recommend for any new collectors, because this is not a cheap console to collect for, start with the low-end titles. Start with Japanese. Now, I know some early collectors want to do only English titles. There's a big spark for that. A lot of the English titles are a little bit more on the rare side, but I'll tell you this for you new collectors out there. It's the same game. It really is. The only thing that's different is the cover of the manual, the insert, and the sticker. Everything else is the same. It's a region-free console, meaning that if you have a Japanese console and you put an English game in, it's playing in Japanese. If you have an English console and you put a Japanese game in, it's playing in English. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. I did it too. Bought a couple of Japanese titles, learned the aspects of the cartridge, the boards, the console itself, learn the mechanics behind it. Smells, inserts, the materials that were used, the weight. These are all things for ultra high-end collectors for the Neo Geo. If you're a casual person that just wants to collect a couple of games, do it. Grab a couple of games. You probably won't even need to do any of the heavy hardcore stuff. But my recommendation to you is, outside of going online and looking at blogs and going on websites and watching YouTube videos like this, definitely hop on Facebook. There's plenty of great groups to join. And if you like this video, please feel free to drop comments down below. Again, if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer as much as I can. Again, I am not an expert. I'm probably one of many new collectors that are less than 5 years into collecting Neo Geo games. 2.5, 3 years, that's it. And I'm super surprised that my collection has grown this much. Actually, if it wasn't for me starting this collection right here, the rest of my other games on my other consoles would have never happened. Neo Geo really sparked my interest in getting back into video game collecting as a whole, which it's been extremely awesome, the experience, being able to share this with many of you out there and try to show you and teach you some of the things that I've learned over the last 2.5 years. Have I made mistakes with certain consoles? Yes. Do I have those consoles now? No, because I didn't play them. And really, honestly, right now, the only consoles I want in my collection are consoles that I actually want to play. So if this is a console that you want to go for and this is what you've always wanted, do it. And if you like what you saw, please hit the like and subscribe button. Until then, I'll check you next time. Peace.